The Power Within, A Journey to Self-Discovery, written and published by Audible Aria. Many people in today's society hold the belief that everything in life can be explained through mechanical processes. They think that everything exists and operates because of the materials it's made of, and we often approach life as if we are players in a chess game, manipulating the pieces to achieve our goals. However, this simplistic perspective leaves us unprepared to face the unpredictable challenges that life presents. We focus only on the superficial aspects of the game, failing to appreciate the intricate nuances and true meaning of life. Viewing life as a mere combination of physical components, like an immortal hand and eye, leads to a bleak and unfulfilling understanding of existence. Even when we break down the complex machinery of the human body to its smallest cell, we are left with emptiness. Materialistic researchers encounter a vast and indifferent universe, devoid of the vital force that animates life. While the form of something aligns with its function, there is a deeper and more intelligent design at play, surpassing the comprehension of the average human mind. Rather than fixating on the outward appearance, our focus should be on the underlying idea and purpose that endow a form with perfect functionality. Take a closer look at the intricate patterns of snowflakes, and you'll recognize the presence of a supreme mathematical mind behind creation. This intelligence surpasses even the most knowledgeable scientists. The organized rotation of planets in space, the arrangement of solar systems in the vast universe, the structure of atoms, and the profound mystery of life itself. It's clear that we must acknowledge the existence of a supreme intelligence shaping and guiding everything with a purpose. All things have emerged from the boundless creativity of this intelligence. Everything in the world of fashion originates from itself. Humans don't determine the destiny of the universe. That destiny is secure in the hands of its creator. The creator has vested all of its potential and power within humans. The outcomes of evolution were guaranteed long before humans appeared on Earth. This assurance existed from the very start, when an intelligence with the ability to conceive space, time, and matter, as well as to create diverse life forms and infuse them with its essence, emerged. It is inconceivable that this intelligence with such vast capabilities would relinquish control to one of its partially developed creations during any crisis. Surprisingly, some of our thinkers believe otherwise. They contend that humans control the universe and determine their own fate. The regular person, the one we see on the outside, the self-centered and only somewhat aware person, walks among the stars. Behind everything there's a hidden reason, not visible because it doesn't have a particular shape or description. This cause exists forever and knows everything, existing behind the awareness of every living thing. It decides all outcomes, consequences, conflicts, and solutions. It isn't stopped in any part of its existence or purpose. There are no untied ends or unsolved problems within it. It's a universal mind, divine intelligence, the secret self that brings life to every living thing. It's as huge as infinity, with no limits to its abilities or powers. And interestingly, it's completely and wholly within you, even though your surface mind can't see it. It's your everlasting self, the one that leaves its mark in the stars, in the intricate design of growing seeds, and in the vibrant energy of life evolving with color and grandeur. This extraordinary force makes all kinds of shapes come to life, and it breaks them down and scatters them when the idea behind them has been shown. It is the only being, the single mind, the lone life, the genuine presence, the one true self that always exists, everlasting, never born, never passing away. The countless aspects of its diverse nature are revealed on the life stage, and every creation of it carries all the essence, power, and intelligence of the Creator. Each creation has its own hidden self within it. Sometimes, life makes us question ourselves, and we might wonder if it's worthwhile to have a self that is so hard to understand, a self that isn't even the us we always believed we were. But there's actually a lot of good in embracing this complexity if you focus on your surface mind. When you only look at the outer layer of life, many dimensions remain hidden. You don't know where you came from, where you're headed, or even if there's a day when you might no longer exist. The vastness of space, the immense span of time since Earth started orbiting the sun, and the mysteries of another person's mind, the inner workings of living beings, and the purpose of life itself, all of these things remain elusive. They are like puzzles that your little ego, which can barely see beyond its own nose, struggles to grasp. But if you focus on the surface mind, these mysteries are forever out of reach, leaving you in the dark about the grandeur and intricacies of the world around you. Unless we're as unaware as cows in a field, living solely for ourselves makes us feel unwell. The world is incredibly vast, and when we're stuck in our own ego, we're bound to feel fear, hopelessness, guilt, and frustration every day. It's a tough spot to be in when we feel small and inadequate, knowing deep down that we are. Even if we try to act bigger than we are, like mice roaring like lions, we'll eventually realize our true size if we're too absorbed in our own ego. Life gently nudges each person, trying to get their attention. We have a choice. Either we pay attention or we end up knocked down. No one is above everyone else. We're all connected to one mind, one self, one supreme intelligence. Understanding this powerful truth allows that intelligence to become a part of us, taking control and using us for its work in the world. This way, we can operate at the peak of our human abilities. The narrow view we often have of the universe is the starting point, the original push, and this initial push comes from a primal intelligence from which everything has originated. It requires a rich wellspring of spiritual strength to find the bravery needed to liberate your soul from being too attached to your surface-level self. It takes a considerable amount of courage to embark on the journey towards absolute freedom, where you completely rely on your innermost self, the secret cell. This means not only breaking free from the burdens of your immediate circumstances, but also having the courage to leap into the unknown realm of complete freedom. In most cases, the desire for money or personal success is not enough to create the strong motivation needed to bring together the inner self and the external nature. When we pursue things for selfish reasons, our focus becomes so narrow that we can't see the vast and powerful being that exists within us. We might be forced into complete submission, experiencing extreme humility, but this feeling of the ego's desires often doesn't last long. Once our lives return to normal, the ego regains strength, reconsiders its decision to step aside, and resumes control, causing sadness for the person inside. The real and lasting shift toward unity with the inner self happens when we truly understand the mental and spiritual world we live in. It's about seeing all minds as one, all spirits as part of one world, and all people as connected. This understanding doesn't come from blind faith or belief, but from a clear awareness of the facts as they are, backed by undeniable and irrevocable evidence. Only by gaining a deeper mental understanding through increased awareness can we achieve this transformation. For each of us, life is precisely how we understand it, and this follows the mental law that governs our existence. Similarly, all thoughts about theology and metaphysics are exactly as we interpret them, because the ideas that settle in our minds shape the extent and boundaries of our understanding. In simpler terms, God is what we imagine him to be, and we can alter him simply by changing our perception of him. God is considered an idea because he is connected to the mind, and the idea that is the most comprehensive, flawless, practical, and clear is the closest representation of the Godhead. Our sickness stems from our limited ability to see things broadly, and the only way to heal is by broadening our perspective, stretching our understanding beyond what we currently grasp. The underlying idea in this book is that there is an eternal thinker who is always thinking. Each thought that the thinker has may seem separate from him, but it's not. The thought only represents a part of the thinker, but not the whole. And as far as the thought exists, it is the thinker. Although not entirely, the thinker is like God, and the thoughts are like humans. God immerses himself in the thoughts but isn't confined by this immersion, and can free himself any time by expanding his awareness. When a person is overly focused on themselves, they become one with their thoughts and are tied to the initial idea that drove them. However, once they release this intense focus on themselves, the spell begins to break, and they start to see themselves as part of something greater, like God. The moment they get even close to this mental state, it becomes a space where they can alter the original idea that drove their self-centeredness. In this space, they have the power to transform into a completely different person simply by embracing a new and different idea about who they are. Simply convincing yourself that something is white when your eyes see it as black won't change its color. To truly turn it white, you need it to look white, and the only way for that to happen is by developing your psychic abilities to see through the illusion of its black appearance. Fear isn't built into the circumstances themselves. It's a reaction we have to those circumstances. To overcome fear, we must gain knowledge and insight that allows us to see control and understanding where we once saw threats. Being afraid of a lion is normal, but trying to hide that fear from ourselves and facing the lion without proper knowledge is the wrong approach. It's like offering ourselves as a tasty meal to the beast. To conquer the fear of lions, we need to learn how to handle them. Once we gain control, we can confidently face the lion without any danger. It's not just about strength, it's about skill, as Alexander Pope wisely said. It is not strength, but art obtains the prize, and to be swift is less than to be wise. The secret self, which is the main reason for everything, holds the proper psychic position. It's the source of all creation, giving rise to an endless variety of living forms. The world is a display of its diverse and everlasting essence. This secret self is purely mental, characterized by light and electricity. It's represented by the immense energy balance in atoms and the invisible force that locks molecules into specific shapes like trees and rocks. Here's a hopeful fact. The secret self interacting with its creations is what drives evolution in species and individuals. A person can improve themselves by establishing the right connection with it. What does this proper relationship involve? It's not about demeaning oneself or submitting tearfully. It's not about giving up entirely. It's a conscious and controlled surrender of one's life to a power better equipped to use and develop it than the individual's ego. The ego and the surface mind still exist, but are now under the guidance of a greater power, a more expansive consciousness than what directed the life previously. Discovering the right connection between the ego and the secret self opens up a world of possibilities. It's like finding a powerful center of energy and creativity that can turn even the most ordinary person into a giant. The key is to learn and listen actively. There are inner voices that speak to your soul when you consciously let go of the ego's control over your life. The voice of the divine becomes clear, and with it, an inner sight develops. This inner voice helps you intuitively grasp the truth in situations that were once mysteriously hidden. As your awareness expands, it includes people, things, and situations, aligning your actions perfectly with their nature. This synchronization makes your actions seem infallible, as you become attuned to your surroundings and the people you interact with. Breaking free from the self-imposed prison, imagination becomes the key. Each of us is confined within the narrow walls of our ego, and it's this confinement that brings about our troubles, keeping us away from the source of our true power. The mental essence of the secret self is imagination. In a single moment, imagination can stretch across all boundaries, covering all space and time. When we look at man as a physical creature, he seems tiny in the vastness of time and space. But when we consider man as a mental being, his stature matches that of the entire universe. Why? Because his mind can grasp and understand everything, from the structure of matter to the intricacies of life. Imagination is the force that connects him to the secret self. John Masefield once said, "Man is made up of body, mind, and imagination. His body has flaws, his mind is not always reliable, but his imagination is what makes him extraordinary. Throughout the centuries, human imagination has turned life on this planet into a vibrant expression of beautiful energies. It has been proven that whatever we hold as an image in our minds will find its way into the external world, becoming a tangible reality. This doesn't mean we've changed the world outside, it's because we can only see what our consciousness is tuned to perceive. By altering our consciousness, we can change how we perceive the world. Our awareness is usually shaped by what's happening around us. If someone is born into wealth, they often develop a mindset of prosperity, leading a life filled with abundance. On the flip side, those born into poverty may adopt a mindset of scarcity, experiencing a life of shortage. In a way, our surroundings determine how we think. But here's the key. Imagination can break these chains. Despite our circumstances, we can use our imagination to reshape our lives. Imagination gives us the power to condition our consciousness however we want. When used correctly, it turns us into masters of every event and circumstance. We no longer have to merely react to the things happening around us. Instead, we can create mental images that align with our inner goals and intentions. By focusing on these positive images rather than seeing obstacles and setbacks, nothing in the world can prevent us from achieving our aspirations. Isn't it wonderful how our minds can create vivid images through visualization? We can conjure up whole scenes, colorful pageants, and even entire arenas with sights and sounds in an instant. The things we choose to picture in our minds shape our reality, defining our existence. Essentially, we become what we allow to take root in our consciousness. When we decide to exclude anything that hinders or limits us, we're taking the first step in making our lives self-determined, rather than just reacting to circumstances. The remarkable part of being human is not just our hands, eyes, heart, liver, or brain, but our ability to think, visualize, and conceive. It's like having a magical power where we can decide what thoughts occupy our minds and in turn shape our destiny. All forms of creativity arise from the interplay between our surface self and the secret self, particularly from the powerful impact of imagination on the secret self. Writers connect with their creative source or muse by first letting go of their everyday self and tapping into a greater, more powerful force within. They then direct their imagination toward the story and characters they want to create. Interestingly, a process unfolds within them that seems beyond their control. The characters come to life, revealing themselves, and the story takes shape. It's not like they're making things up. The world in their mind becomes more real than the physical objects around them. Inside the writer's mind, a meaningful and symbolic drama unfolds. What they visualize becomes a part of them, shaping and changing their consciousness. The story isn't just created by the author, it transforms the author, much like how we all are shaped by the mental images and thoughts that reside in our minds. In essence, the book creates the author, just as our minds are molded by the ideas and images that find a home within us. At the core of perfection, each of us is like an infant in the ongoing transformation of the soul, moving through countless forms in an endless cycle of change. Often, we see ourselves as fixed entities, with clear boundaries that don't change. When we talk about ourselves or reflect on who we are, we feel certain that we understand ourselves completely and are resolute in our sense of identity. However, the reality is quite different. We don't truly know ourselves, and we are constantly evolving, not remaining the same from one moment to the next. If we view ourselves merely as physical bodies, the evident truth is that ourselves are always in a state of flux and transformation. Recognizing a loved one after being away for 30 years is nearly impossible, as the self undergoes significant changes over time. Reflecting on the ever-changing nature of consciousness can provide insight into the countless personas our surface minds and egos have taken on since our first appearance in the world. Picture the progression, from the infant crying and vomiting to the schoolboy with a bright morning face, the lover sighing like a furnace, the soldier full of strange oaths, the justice with a fair round belly, the lean and slippered pantaloon, and finally, the second childhood, lacking teeth, eyes, taste, and everything else. Shakespeare keenly observed the various roles played by the secret self throughout life's journey. When someone points to themselves and insists, "I am this" or "I am that," they reveal a tendency to become like the image they hold in their mind. The rest is just illusion. As we explore our understanding of ourselves, a natural apprehension of the vast and mysterious universe accompanies this newfound knowledge. Unlike a cow, which grazes contentedly without self-awareness, humans possess a complex bundle of nerves, blood, and tissue. Our reactions to the surrounding world are guided by established reflexes known as instincts. The cow, unaffected by the sight of stars, remains blissfully unaware of the world's size or its own existence. However, humans, distinguished by imagination, heightened awareness, and self-awareness, stand apart from other forms of life. This self-awareness, absent in animals, is a defining trait of humanity, representing the current pinnacle of the secret self's evolutionary development. While some individuals have evolved even further and more continue to break through each day, a future awaits with a new race of intellectual and spiritual giants emerging on Earth. These beings will possess a higher level of consciousness, comparable to how modern humans surpass the intelligence of apes. Discovering the secrets of space, time, and dimensions can transform the entire universe into a familiar abode. Picture a journey from one planet to another, from star to star. Amidst the vastness of our Earth encompassing its immense rawness and waste, there lies a safe haven within its very core, the dwelling place of perfection, as envisioned by Walt Whitman, the stargazer. Those who choose astronomy as their profession often possess a philosophical inclination. Perhaps it's because their consciousness is fixated on spaces that dwarf their physical selves, leading them to ponder the origins and conclusions of life and the fate of humanity. Gazing into the magnificent celestial expanse, it becomes nearly impossible not to feel a deep reverence and awe for the evident handiwork of a supreme intelligence. Stirling embarked on the study of philosophy around the same time he delved into astronomy. Throughout his career, he maintained that these pursuits were interconnected. However, despite dedicating himself to both fields, he experienced limited success in either for a significant part of his life. Reflecting on his abilities, he often remarked, "I guess I'm just a decent mechanic. Some people are born to assemble things after others come up with ideas. I assemble the pieces." Despite this self-assessment, it was evident that he wasn't entirely satisfied with this characterization, even if it held some truth. In various observatories, his tasks primarily involved chart work, leaving theoretical probabilities and exploratory ventures to others. Even in his philosophical pursuits, Stirling followed a specific path. He transformed into a walking repository of philosophical knowledge, able to quote passages and references from a wide range of works, spanning from Plato to René Descartes, David Hume, John Locke, and the Bhagavad Gita. Although Stirling embraced various philosophies, none found a lasting place within him, and he didn't adhere to any specific philosophical stance. Despite his extensive learning and studies, it seemed as if his mind was like a barren land, unable to nurture the growth of ideas. It appeared that his intellect was a marshland where ideas struggled to take root. As time marched on, Stirling reached a juncture where he could reflect equally on his past and future. However, what he observed troubled him. He became keenly aware that the routine he had followed for years would become unbearable for another 3 decades. Faced with this realization, he concluded that he needed to either pursue a different profession or rediscover a new sense of purpose in his existing one. Seeking guidance, he posed a question. What is it that I am missing? It feels as if some essential element was omitted from me at birth, making me incapable of grasping the meaning of life. While I can see the order in the heavens and the logic in humanity's intellectual endeavors, I struggle to comprehend their relevance to my own existence. Why is that? The mere fact of my existence doesn't seem to have any connection to the world and its happenings. Have you ever imagined a world without yourself in it? When asked, certainly, I often think it would be much better. If you entertain the idea that you might have never existed at all, how can you believe that you will continue to exist after this life is over? I don't. I think this is it. When the curtain comes down, that's the end. What about the design you mentioned, the apparent coordinated effort of life towards some common goal that seems to belong to someone else, not to me? I can't even comprehend it, let alone be a part of it. How can you distance yourself from the things you observe around you when it appears that all of life is part of some central guiding intelligence? Surely you can see that you must be too. If whatever is happening here is orchestrated through the incarnations of a supreme being, then each incarnation represents that supreme being and is not different or isolated from it. Maybe not, he responded. Your reasoning seems reasonable. I can only express my emotions, and I feel excluded, not a participant in what is happening. Then your issue might be selfishness. Sterling nearly jumped out of his chair. Selfishness, he exclaimed. I have a wife and 4 children, and I provide for all of them. I serve on the board of my church, on the Chamber of Commerce, and I belong to 4 service clubs. It seems to me that half of my life is spent serving others. How can you say I'm selfish? I didn't mean that you lack concern for others. I meant that you are overly concerned with yourself. Anyone who completely confines and isolates their own being is selfish, is egotistic because they cannot expand their consciousness beyond the limits they have imposed upon it. They have no chance whatsoever of perceiving their unity with all life, with all beings. How does one go about this? Sterling inquired. By attempting, by making an effort. As long as you persist in lamenting the meaninglessness of life, you will continue to give substance to the veil. By doing so, you are demanding that the ego grant it a reality that it doesn't truly possess, and as a result, you are obscuring your vision with it. Are you suggesting that merely by striving to understand a higher consciousness, one automatically attains a higher consciousness? Sterling questioned. Perhaps it is that straightforward. Undoubtedly, when the human psyche opens itself to the reception of knowledge that lies beyond it, only then is it in a position to receive. This change in consciousness is not about complexity. What was once closed and impenetrable now becomes open and receptive. That is the secret of increased awareness. Is this a solitary thing? Must one retire from the act of life to achieve it? Sterling inquired. By no means. The best place of all is the arena of your daily work and activity. If you extend beyond yourself in every task you undertake, and consciously strive to understand and empathize with the perspectives of others engaged in events with you, then you will discover that the door in your consciousness will swing open and light will flood in. Sterling made a conscious decision to give it a try. He reflected on how his exploration of the heavens had always felt distant, as if he were an outsider looking in. The revelations from his stargazing efforts had left him feeling like an insignificant speck in the vast expanse of the cosmos. However, he resolved to adopt the theory that the entire universe was within his own consciousness. Intrigued by this new perspective, Sterling dedicated several months to this mental shift. To his surprise, within a year, he made a groundbreaking discovery about the constant creation of hydrogen. When he presented his findings in a paper, it received widespread acclaim. Reflecting on his journey, Sterling shared with his friends, "It's impossible to truly understand something if you're detached from it in a mysterious way. We all share the same consciousness, and breaking down the walls that separate us from our endeavors allows us to grasp their meaning directly. You could call this intuition, but it's more than that. It's a profound knowing achieved by being immersed in the very essence of what you seek to understand." Carl Jung, a renowned psychologist, wrote, "As humans, we can't revert to animal consciousness. The only path forward is to strive for higher consciousness. Many human problems, fears, guilt, hostilities, and frustrations stem from being stuck between the animal insistence and the expanded awareness beyond our surface selves. Living chained to our surface selves makes life a burden we struggle to handle. It's intriguing how challenging it can be to convey this straightforward message. The illusion of a separate ego or self is deeply entrenched in many people, and no amount of persuasion, examples, or evidence can dissuade them from their illusory consciousness. Some adopt the mindset of, as long as it works for me, it's okay, without realizing that they are essentially automatons reacting to external stimuli. Content with material comforts, they remain bound to an unconscious existence, lacking aspirations for growth and unable to tap into the higher awareness that fulfills the soul, akin to an animal living without expanding its consciousness beyond basic instincts. If a person holds within them even a fragment of the infinite and eternal, it becomes their duty to bring it forth. Failure to do so results in the loss of their soul. Unexpressed aspects ultimately fade away, ceasing to exist. There has been a constant upward and onward movement throughout the ages since the universe's inception. It emerged from the primal elements, infused life into the darkest corners of the earth, the ocean depths, and the most barren deserts. Life exists wherever space and substance are present, as nothing is truly lifeless. In the entire creation, a single mind, intelligence, and life strive for a more complete and varied expression of their concealed and unrevealed essence. All things originate from one source, evolve in a unified direction, and every path converges in an infinite realm where each individual discovers their home within the depths of the secret self. We embody the force that shaped the earth and the planets, showcasing its infinite intelligence and intricate designs in the complex geometry of four-dimensional space and the intricate cohesion of atoms. All it takes is shedding the masks we wear for others and ourselves, letting go of our egos, and embracing a broader consciousness. In doing so, a vibrant universe will unfold before us, with ourselves not just at the center, but fully encompassing it. Beyond our current understanding, there exist higher planes of consciousness waiting to be explored, an intellectual adventure into uncharted realms of the mind. Despite traversing oceans, reaching the poles, and venturing into space, humanity remains oblivious to its origin and destiny, hidden in the yet unexplored depths. In the dormant layers of his consciousness lies the fundamental cause of all things, the mind. Before any material substance came into existence, there had to be pre-existing knowledge of its creation. This knowledge, inherently intellectual, resided in a mind. Therefore, the essence of creation is that thought always precedes the physical manifestation, and thoughts themselves are entities in the process of taking shape. The very nature of existence is rooted in consciousness. To be conscious is to engage in thought, and thinking is the act of giving form to thought. Every consciousness is dynamic, and the moment a thought impresses itself upon consciousness, the conscious mind begins the process of giving it a tangible form. Thus, everything that exists does so by the virtue of consciousness. It is derived from nothing but primal intelligence. The existence of any entity is a result of being an idea or thought within the mind of primal intelligence. In the creation of things, there is a reflection of the degree of primal intelligence involved, and the created entity embodies the intelligence of its creator. The created thing becomes increasingly similar to its creator, differing only due to the limitations imposed by the idea that shaped its form. The power to change is inherent in every created thing, as increased awareness gradually permeates each entity. This liberation from the original shaping idea allows the created thing to seek unity with the dynamic force of primal intelligence. Consequently, the created entity has the potential to attain the power of that intelligence in direct proportion to its understanding. In simpler terms, a person is not confined by the way they were initially created. Instead, they can tap into the broader consciousness within them, inviting it to manifest in their life. This process enables the expansion of awareness, perception, and knowledge, transforming the individual into a different and improved version of themselves. Indeed, the purpose of life appears to be that the created expressions of a profound and primal intelligence evolve into a complete understanding and awareness of that intelligence. Through this growth, they unite the world and everything within it as an expression of the divine. Although the complete revelation of the divine is only partially evident in each unique expression, it is fully inherent in every single one. Within you resides the entire power of the secret self. Unlike a mere fragment, every bit of this vast creator remains within you, lying dormant and prepared to enrich your life in proportion to your ability to liberate yourself from the constraints imposed by the ego. The underlying origin of all phenomena is the primal mind that serves as the foundation of creation. It dispenses outcomes to each being based on their individual consciousness, determined by the mental images held within the mind. In the world, what we constantly observe is an unending procession of thoughts materializing into things. This occurs not because thoughts have the power to create things, but rather because we only notice things that exist in our awareness as thoughts. Essentially, anything conceivable in our mental images already exists, or for it to be imagined, it must have originated in the mind of the ultimate intelligence. Consequently, there is no such thing as a genuinely new thought or idea from the perspective of the secret self. Instead, each thought or idea is considered new only from the viewpoint of the individual consciousness that comprehends it. Once this idea takes hold in the individual consciousness, the person soon perceives its tangible counterpart in the external world. It appears as if the idea brought the thing into existence, but the truth is, the thing was already there. It resided in the mind of the secret self, patiently waiting to be perceived by the individual consciousness. What we perceive is shaped by who we are. It's a well-established fact that a group of people standing on a street corner may each notice things that others overlook due to the unique qualities of their consciousness. For instance, a realtor might be concerned with the value of a vacant lot. A doctor might focus on the peculiar gait of a pedestrian, and an advertising professional might be captivated by an empty billboard atop the drugstore. Another individual in the group might have a different perspective. On that street corner, you could have an elderly man worried about how fast the traffic is moving. Right next to him there might be a car salesman, totally fixated on the features of a new competitor's model. Then, a contractor might be there, noticing that the drugstore could use a fresh coat of paint. This list can go on forever because humans come in an infinite variety. It's safe to say that it would be nearly impossible for any two individuals, no matter how you pair them up, to observe precisely the same things on that particular street corner. Everything we perceive is a product of our consciousness. We only see what has been formed as a mental image in our minds, and this is closely tied to who we are. This is an unchanging law of existence, and it plays a crucial role. We can use it to either limit or expand our consciousness, but it is always in operation. We can't escape it. We either restrict our souls or allow them to grow. There's no middle ground. Internally, we are either cursed or blessed, with our ego acting as a judge, although it's a false and illusory one. When we prioritize the secret self over the ego, we unlock the potential to expand consciousness and enhance awareness. This allows us to fully harness the law of growth and power. However, as long as the ego remains in control, we will remain confined, enslaved to a tyrant that constrains our consciousness within narrow limits. Pioneers, the journey humanity undertakes to find unity with the secret self is inevitable. This discovery represents the ultimate aim of evolution. A time will come when the earth will be inhabited by a race of individuals, intellectual and spiritual giants, where the secret self is completely unveiled. However, the path is not clearly marked, and those forging ahead do so individually, venturing into the unknown. Embrace the journey, and you'll find as much fulfillment along the way as at the destination, as it is filled with adventure, soul-stirring excitement, and profound intellectual stimulation. As Thomas Carlyle eloquently expressed, behind you, slightly aroused, coming slowly but always following, is all humanity. The spark of thought, like a lightning bolt, ignites in a solitary mind, or rather is kindled by heaven. It awakens a similar expression in another mind, and then in 1,000 more minds, until all blaze up together in a united fire. We exist within the universal mind, but are often limited by our ego mind. By expanding our thinking, we recognize that everything around us is an expression of this universal mind. The trees, your cat, and even ourselves. Manifesting or perceiving something is not about creating it. Instead, it is being revealed to our consciousness from within, uncovering the interconnected expressions of the universal mind. The struggles, restrictions, and issues we face in life find their roots in our minds, shaped by our ego-centered consciousness. By understanding that our ego is constantly changing and not fixed, we gain the ability to transcend limiting thoughts and fears. To tap into our larger potential, we can release these constraining thoughts and embrace a broader perspective of who we are. Within us lies a secret self, our true essence, waiting to be explored. As we move beyond ego-driven thinking, we open ourselves to a vast realm connected to the universal mind, providing us the freedom to manifest our desires and shape our reality. Thank you for listening.